Hey everybody, I just wanted to say I hope all you mothers had a wonderful Mother's Day out there. And all of you gals who aren't moms, I hope you had a wonderful day out there too. I think just being a woman is enough to celebrate Mother's Day. You're a very special breed of person, and I relish you and cherish you, and the world is a far better place for all the women in it. I would gladly relinquish all responsibility to you and let you just run with it. I think we'd be doing a whole lot better. I told him that he had to wear a mask if he's in here. This is what I'm dealing with. That's the mask he chose. I don't know what to say. But one thing I wanted to talk about is it's so funny. I read like all the bass forums and I go check out what everybody's up to and what's going on. And it's so funny to me, all of the deep arguments about 4-string, 5-string, whatever multi-string basses there are. And, who's why do you play that? The thing I look at is there's no rules. You find what you enjoy and makes you happy, and that's what you do. I see guys playing 6 strings, and for the most part, they're doing a lot of virtuoso solo things, a lot of sound on sound. They're doing sampling and so. Great. If I had a 1-string bass and it fit the song I was playing, I would gladly play a 1-string bass. When you have a plumber, an electrician, anybody doing repair work, go to a garage and look at the tools that the mechanics, plumbers, anybody uses. Their box usually contains, you'll see Ryobi and Makita and Milwaukee, all kinds of different tools. You pick the tool that's right for the job. And I think should be no rules as far as 4-string, 5-string, or multi-string. It's what works best for you. I take both with me when I'm in the studio. I've got my Frankenstein over here. I've got my Warwick. I've got my Dingwall sitting here. And I take these because everything I do is song related. And I know the sounds of these different instruments, and they're similar, but they're different. And I'll pick the song, the instrument that's right for the song. If it's a 4-string, fine. If I see one note below an E, as soon as I see an E flat written, I'm immediately on my 5-string rather than drop tuning for the most part. If I'm doing a song that has a D drone, I'll probably use Frankenstein, but use the drop D tuner so that, when the hip shot is a beautiful thing, because when you immediately, you're there in a D. This worked great with James Taylor when we were doing songs like Country Road, Mill Worker, these things that were with a D drone on the bottom. There's advantages to having this on a 4-string, because if I want to be playing that and I've got the D. If I was playing a 5-string, I would have to be on the B string, be fingering the D, which then would not allow me to do anything up top because I'm holding that. So everything has its own place. When I'm on tour, generally I end up playing 5-string on it because I don't take a lot of gear on the road with me. And I like to remain consistent as possible for the front of house mixer. So I give him one bass and he can EQ it perfectly at that point. But if there's one song in the show that requires a 5-string, I just play 5-string for the whole show. I tend to treat a 5-string bass as though it's a 4-string. and I have access to that B string when I want to use it. But for the most part, I still think of that 5 string as really a 4 string like this, and try to play it within those contexts. But I use the one bass for the tour. But I see these people getting into pretty vehement discussions in the same way people talk about finger and pick and all this. You know, I mean, the thing I always found fantastic about music and the instruments is the fact that it's limitless. If you took this bass and you set it in a room, and then one by one you had 10 bass players go in the room and pick it up and you recorded them, it would probably sound like 10 different instruments in the hands of 10 different people. And I think it's one of those things that you find what's comfortable for you and works. I have guys all the time saying, what do you think about Rickenbackers? What do you think about, and they go through a litany of instruments, and I go, I'm sure they're all good. You know, I found a few instruments that really work for me, and I'm not searching for anything else. I'm really quite content with what I have. I'm not a gear whore. I don't sit there and amass mountains of equipment. I've got a pretty small selection of stuff, and it seems to work for just about everything that I work on. And I have a few specialty instruments that if I know I'm going to need it, I'll take it out. But it's like, I have a couple of pedals. I used to have massive racks and all that stuff, but I have a couple of pedals that I'll use if it's necessary. But I don't plug everything in and start with it. I start as pure and raw as I can. In the same way that when we did Phil Collins's the No Jacket Required tour, there were 2 things on it. At first, we started by being wireless. And I said, let's A/B this. And I took my wireless rig, we ran sound on that. Then I went hardwire. And the sound guy said, man, if you can go hardwire, please do it. It's so much cleaner, so much better. And I've always been hardwired. Now, I'm not running around the stage dancing and doing all kinds of stuff. So I've got if I've got about a 20-foot cord, I'm good. That's the perimeter I'm usually allowed before I'm stepping across the zone. And then I have a collar that like gives me electric shock that makes me go back. It's like one of those dog electric fences that they make me wear. And also I said, what about effects? Because I've always loved the sound of a TC chorus flanger, and I've used that on a lot of projects and stuff. But like with Phil, the drums were affected, the guitar had effects, the keyboards, at that time was J. Peter Robinson playing keyboards, and there was effects. I wanted to give him a pure bass, absolutely pure, right down the middle. So I didn't use any effects on the tour, even though on some of the songs I used effects. Live, it came off better with me not having the effects on the bass. It wasn't like it was crafting the entire song with that effect. But the beauty of all this is you use what makes you happy and works for you. There's no set rules on any of this. You just find your voice in all of it. And if you're a 4-string guy, play 4-string. You don't even have to, lament, shouldn't I? Do it. And if you pick up a 5-string at some point and it feels really good to you and you can get it and pick it up cheap, flea market, whatever, do it. I'm the same with fretless. I have a really beautiful fretless bass. Rarely do I get called to use it. I can use it when I have to. I love playing fretless, and when I listen to some of the great, Pino and Percy, and there's guys that just are such exquisite fretless players, and I enjoy playing it. But to me, fretless has a very unique sound, and it can actually at times where people have said, "Oh man, you do fretless on this," and I go, "It'll actually distract from the track." Because it has such a signature unto itself that your ear will be drawn to that rather than to the actual bass part. It's the tonal quality of it and the growl. When it's right, there's nothing righter, and when it's not right, there's nothing wronger. But this is all subjective. It's to the song, it's to the needs at the moment. I think there's a famous old Chet Atkins story. I think it's attributed to Chet. I've heard it several ways though, where Chet was playing a gig and a guy came up to him during the show, and when they stopped playing, and he said, "That's probably the best guitar I've ever heard. You're really blowing my mind. Thank you so much." And the guy goes back to his seat. A couple of songs later, he comes back up again. He goes, "This is really blowing my mind, taking my breath away. That guitar, I've never heard one quite like that. Yeah, it's really incredible." About the third time the guy starts coming up, Chet takes the guitar off and sets it down in the stand, and he goes, "How's it sound now?" Remember, everything you do is here, here, and here. This is a tool. This is a piece of firewood, ultimately. If I was freezing to death, I could burn this and save my life. Wouldn't want to, but if I had to, I could. It's not the instrument, it's the player at the end of the day. So find something that makes you happy. And if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 string, if you make music on it and you're happy, it's the right instrument for you. So enough of that. I hear this all the time, and I'm going. And also one last thing, I have people writing in going, "Oh man, do some Rush, do some Chili Peppers." With this channel, I'm really focusing on songs that I've played on, that I've recorded before. I'm not going to start learning, Getty or Flea or Phil Lynott or anything. I love those guys, and I love going to YouTube channels and watching them perform their songs. I don't really want to go down that road and be trying to show their parts. They can do that. When it comes to that, I'm a dorky Uber fan, and I would rather just watch Jocko play. I'd rather watch Jack Bruce play and all these guys. So what I'm focused on this was just kind of showing the bass parts that I end up playing on songs that I've been involved with. So I appreciate all the requests, but I've got enough material in my repertoire where I can sit here for a long time and go over these, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. It's fun for me to revisit things I haven't even thought about in 20, 30 years. Now, what I'm going to do today it's different than the album version of it, because this is from like 3 years ago with our group, The Immediate Family, when we played in Japan. This is from our live show in Japan, and it's Lawyers, Guns, and Money, Warren Zevon. I loved Warren so much. Waddy Wachtel was an integral part of Warren's music, and so he's featured on this with guitar and vocals. And it's real loose, real fun with the guys. This is several years ago, so all of this stuff is much tighter and nastier now, and we've really kind of come into our own as a band. And in the new album that'll be coming out, we'll show that. But this is just a lot of fun. But I love Warren. He was one of the most unique writers, characters I've ever worked with. Every time I got called to do anything with him, and I was jumping for joy to be in the studio with him. A really creative, brilliant artist, and just gone way too young. When his illness hit, we all just were horrified that this was happening to Warren. But he left a remarkable legacy. So this is just a fun live version of Lawyers, Guns, and Money with Waddy singing and kind of the featured guitar, but the whole band's playing. It's Russ Kunkel on drums, Danny Korchmar on guitar, Steve Postel on guitar and singing. So here we go. Waddy. Warren Zevon, Lawyers, Guns, and Money. This guy's the greatest writer. He was just the greatest writer. There's such a movement to try to get him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which when I look at some of the people who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's just unbelievable that Warren isn't in it yet. But we'll see. Whatever it is, it's posthumous, and that's a sad thing that he wouldn't be able to enjoy it in his lifetime. But so that's fun. I love playing with these guys, and we have so much fun live. It's easier for me to play all this stuff standing up because my beard when I'm sitting down is getting caught in everything. And live, I play that on a 5, so actually there is some low D on it where I'm kind of accommodating it now. It's a little fatter that way. One thing I was going to comment too on 4 and 5 string. Many times I hear guys playing a 5 string thinking it's going to make things sound bigger and fatter. What I tend to hear sometimes is when you're using a 5 and you're really playing a lot of stuff down on the B string, E and B strings, you're kind of creating a sonic hole between you and the guitar. And sometimes it actually sounds thinner than if you were playing it up an octave, as you would on a 4 string. And then the guitar and the bass are much, much tighter and more cohesive together sonically. And it actually sounds thicker and tougher. So be cognizant of that, because I've heard people playing songs that I've recorded and then they're doing them, but they're doing them on a 5, and they've taken the bass parts down an octave because they can. And it actually sounds thinner and a little bit emptier than it did when we were all in that kind of that real tight register. So there's lots of considerations when you're going between and betwixt instruments. Think about it, listen to it and see how it works for you. But as I said, there's no rules, just get out there, have fun. I mean, I get asked all the time. I just did an interview in Italy yesterday, and I did one in the UK today. And I'm taking on all of these at this point. I'm really enjoying, talking to people all over the world and bass magazines and stuff. And I think the real thing to take away is this is a joyous job. To be blessed to do for your vocation what would have been your avocation is a rarity. I've known so many guys in like the corporate world who, man, they had countdown clocks on their desk, sitting there, counting down to the day that they could take their necktie off and just not feel the stress and pressure of that world. I'm so happy that every day I still have my tie on. That's a whole other discussion though. But I mean, every day when I get to come play music, I love it. I mean, I love this more than I could have ever imagined. Been doing it since I was 5 years old, and I cherish all the relationships that I've developed over the years with musicians and artists and audiences. So I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. I really appreciate you all so much. It's fun seeing all the people coming on and subscribing to the channel, and I'm going to keep this up. And I'm going to do a lot of songs. I mean, there's lots of stuff yet to come, but I'm just going to stick with the stuff that I worked on, because I'm more than anything just trying to show some bass ideas. But to be trying to learn everybody else's stuff is not. It's not going to work for me. I don't have that kind of energy at this point. So take good care out there as always and every day. I'm just saying, man, please be cognizant of your well-being and the people around you. These are very frightening times. Numbers are still increasing, and every day I turn on the news and I see all these people who are so just horny to get out there and socialize, because most people are a social creature. And they're really missing that. But you see these huge gatherings of people unprotected and rubbing shoulders and high-fiving and hugging each other. And I fear for what the future is going to hold when we start seeing numbers going up. I would love it if it doesn't happen. More than anything, I would love to see this come to a close. But I'm not completely optimistic about that. and I'm still being as careful as I possibly can, and I'm as frustrated as anybody. I would love to be able to go out to a restaurant and not just get curbside, to sit down and actually enjoy some people's company and have a nice dinner and shoot the shit with the waiter or waitress, and have a nice evening. So I'm not sure when all that's going to be happening yet, but right now, just be safe, because the people that are out there being irresponsible, they're not being irresponsible just for themselves. They're being irresponsible for everybody in the community. So they might go have a great time, and then they come home and they've got like a young sister with asthma, or their grandparents are staying at the house, and they come home and they kill them. This is not how you want to spend the rest of your life, with guilt of that kind of a thing hanging over your head. If this was one of those things where your irresponsibility led to your demise, that's your call. But this is not that kind of a disorder, and so please be careful out there. We really value everybody's life, and everybody's important. So try to do the right thing. But I'm going to go do some yard work. My yard's never been happier, and I'm going to go out and jump into it. It cooled off a bit today, so it's a whole lot nicer outside for working. And that was Warren. And I loved Warren, and I miss Warren deeply. And maybe I'll find some other stuff that we did with Warren. So take good care. I'm going to hit the button and say goodbye. I'm going to try to get Knucklehead over there to understand what a mask actually is under these circumstances.